morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing well today. We're moving on around 11:05, so we thought we would get started. Hi, my name is Megan. I'm a senior manager at ONA in the area of support and M&E. Today, I will be walking us through our ONA webinar series. It'll be on the select location feature. If you have any questions throughout the course of this webinar, you can feel free to ask them in the Q&A section. We will be recording this session and sharing all of the content after the webinar. So again, thanks for joining. We're really excited to have you guys here. This, I believe, is our third or fourth webinar series. So at ONA, sorry, just bear with me. There we go. At webinar, our vision and mission statement is to ensure equitable access to service for those who need it most. So we like to do that through the clients that we serve. And today's specific webinar will be focused on location mapping, which is a new feature. So we're really excited to be sharing this with you guys today and share some of the new features that are not only on ODK Collect and new to the ODK community, but also some features specific to ONA, which we believe will make your experience using our tools even better. So the session objectives for today are to introduce the location mapping on ODK Collect and ONA data, to kind of show you how to build XLS forms using this location mapping, how to generate Geojsons automatically from a form or an uploaded CSV, how to capture that data in ODK Collect, and then demonstrate how you can view the Geojson on the map tab on your ONA data platform form page. So the main problem that this feature addresses is, I'm sure a lot of you try to collect data for specific locations. So identifying locations by name or GPS points can be kind of difficult. Sometimes that has to do with changing location hierarchies in different countries. Maybe you're constantly dividing, adding new names, or just changing what they look like. It means that any of the previous data you collected or the data moving forward would have to change, which can be inconvenient for data that you're collecting over a long period of time. Maybe changing location names. We've done projects in the past where we worked with health facilities that, depending who is talking about that health facility or how that health facility is known, can change, or even the spellings of it, depending on who is the person providing that information. And collecting the same GPS locations can be near impossible. So if you're trying to capture the same location using some sort of monitoring form, getting the exact same GPS location can be very, very impossible just due to slight changes in where you are, maybe the device you're using, things like that. So one of the solutions that has been proposed is to collect GPS once and then use the map location after that. So essentially, you're going to collect the GPS points for all of the different locations, but you only have to do it once. And then if you need to update that, you can update as you go. It's more of like a CSV file or source of truth, which then allows you to continue to select that location. And you can do it using a map, kind of like what you see on the screen here. It allows you to focus in more on where you're actually located. You can also go to specific points. Maybe you're collecting from further away or remotely. Maybe you're doing like a call center, and you can use different layer maps. So it allows you to collect information on specific locations that are already placed on the map. You can see how it correlates to where you are currently located. And it also allows you to collect extra information with that. So we'll get more into this. So the new features that are specific for this feature is there's some new XLS form appearances map and quick map. There's also new external files that can be used for the locations, which is a Geojson. It basically is kind of a layer on a map, like what you see here. So we have our base map, which is kind of the roadways. And then you can put specific points on top of it. An ONA exclusive Geojson feature is we allow you to generate a Geojson by either uploading your CSV to ONA using the upload a data set, which will generate a Geojson, which will generate an XLS form, or you can use a form that you've already collected. And you can add that as like a linked media files. So the form media files where you're actually mapping different locations, collecting kind of that monitoring data. You can use this feature to pull from your source of truth of the different locations that you're using. There's also location mapping ODK Collect, which is what I was talking about, and you see in this picture here. And the last feature, which is also exclusive to ONA, is the mapping of Geojson locations with pop-ups on the map tab, which is what you're seeing here. You can't see the pop-up tab, but I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later in the webinar. So the first thing we want to talk about is generating your XLS form with location mapping. So there's two different options that you can use. One, you can add a geometry to your choices sheet. So you have your survey sheet here, and you have your choices sheet here. It functions very similar to a lot of your other select multiple forms. As you can see here on your main survey page, it's still a select one, and you still have your list name here. The thing that's a little bit different, now we have this appearance column. So this, you can either add the map or the quick map. What the map will do is it will then display the choice options on a map using the different geometries that you've defined in your choices sheet. So the new bit to your choices sheet is now the addition of a column for the different geometries, in addition to the list name, and label. For this specific use case, your choices sheet, because of how Pyrex form is configured, when you're using the choice sheet with the geometries, you do have to have a choice filter, which we recommend putting as true unless you actually have a choice filter that you would want to use. So similar to some of the other multiple choice questions where you can add a choice filter to your choices sheet, you can also do that for this type of question. But if you don't have one, just make sure that you include this true, which will allow you to then see your choice options and by the geometries on the map view. Without this, they will not appear. Before we go on, I wanted to talk just a little bit about the different geometries here. They're formatted using ODK format. And what I mean by that is it uses the first number is your latitude, base, then is your longitude, then is your, I believe, the altitude and the precision. Units between them. Don't have your altitude and position, which a lot of people don't. You can just put 0, as you've seen I've done here, and it shouldn't be a problem, but you do need to have them formatted this way. Otherwise, it will not appear correctly on the map. When we send out this information, there's a link to the example form that you guys can take a look. You can download it, upload it to ONA, and see how this specific option works and see if it might work for what you're applying this function to. I would recommend only using this for something where you have only a few locations, just because you can imagine adding all of those different geometries can get quite time intensive. Also, it's not as reproducible as a Geojson. So if I do one Geojson with all of these, I can use it for multiple forms rather than when I put it in here, I have to format it correctly. And then I could copy paste it from multiple ones. My personal preference, I think, is the external file. I find it a little bit easier to use, update, etc. The one thing to point out, though, is this feature does not show the different geometries on the map, like what I was showing here, the grayed out values. So if you decide to go with choice option 1, there will not be a layer of the different locations by their GPS points. Another example is, sorry, let me just move this down just a little bit. Sorry. The option number 2 is to add an external Geojson file. So it'll look very similar to the last survey sheet that we had, except there'll be no changes to the choice options because they won't be on your choices sheet. They'll now be coming from an external file. So you can do a select one from file, and then you put the name of the file .geojson, as you're kind of seeing here. It only works for the select one from file. And similar to the other form, you still have to have that map appearance. A new addition for this specific option is you can define the different parameters to use for your value and label. What that means is similar to how we have a name column value, you can define what value will be pulled and saved for the name column value by adding that to after the value. So from our specific use case, we had ID, which could be a unique identifier, could be a concatenation of different locations. It's really up to you, especially if you're creating your own GeoJSON. If you're using ONA's, it's a little bit different, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Same with the label. You can also define which value in the GeoJSON file will be used as the title, or which value will be visualized from the map. It's kind of like your pop-up, what that would look like. Once I show you a couple of pictures, I think it'll make a little bit more sense. Again, I've also included the example form there as well. We can also include the GeoJSON file as well. I'll make sure to include that before we send out the file. So once you've generated your form, you need to generate GeoJSON. So as I was saying, there's two different options for generating your GeoJSON. You can use external tools. I really like geojson.io. It allows you to put all the different points. You can see where they lie. You can update them. You can update them in the actual GeoJSON, in the JSON format. You can update them in a table view. You can add it. You can export it also as a CSV. If you want to upload it to ONA, you can download it as a GeoJSON file. It also saves it there as well. So it's a very convenient tool if you wanted to generate your own. And then once you do that, you would just upload it to your form media file. So similar to what you see here, you would just go to your form media files and select file to upload. You would find it on your device, and then you would click upload. It would appear here, and then you would just hit upload. Pretty simple. It's very similar to how you guys upload maybe CSVs of data you're pulling data from, images, video files, etc. The other option that is unique to ONA and very helpful, especially if you're automating processes, is to generate a GeoJSON from form and data that you've already collected on ONA. So like I said, there's two different options. You can upload a CSV, and that feature can be found on ONA. If you go to the project page of your forms, you can upload data set. I believe this is a premium feature, so you might have to have a paid account to have access to that. Or alternatively, you can just create a form and upload that data to go with it as well. And then what you can do is you, again, go to your form media files, you'll select the select data set to link, and you'll have a pop-up window. Similar to the CSV, it allows you to kind of define things. So you have to find the project, the specific form that you want to define as the data set or the CSV that you'll be pulling the information from. And then what's a little bit different now is rather than just defining the file name, as you did with CSV, we now have to pick whether it's a CSV or a GeoJSON. And then what you'll do is you'll pick the geopoint. So if your form has multiple geopoints, maybe you collect one at like a household and one at a facility or something to that degree. You would then choose which of those GPS points you would want to use as the points on the GeoJSON. And then you can pick the title. So within the form that you have, you want to make sure that you have that kind of pop-up window that would be the identifier or label value. In addition to that, allow you to also add other fields. A great example could be maybe you're collecting information on a health facility, you're doing monitoring visits at a health facility. You would put the GPS points of the health facility, you put the name of the health facility, and then maybe you want to include like the average number of patients or the catchment area for that, or maybe you need to visit them on a priority level. Maybe some facilities need more assistance than others. You might want to include a priority level. And then you just name the file name. The file name is what you would use. Here. Sorry, here. So you want to make sure that this aligns with whatever you have here. Then you just hit link a data set and your data set appears. And then it's just a matter of downloading to ODK Collect. Currently right now on ONA, it only works on ODK Collect. It should be coming to Enketo so we'll keep you guys up to date as it becomes available on Enketo. Okay, great. So once you've uploaded your form, uploaded your GeoJSON, you're ready to collect data. So right now, it saves, as I was saying before, the choice name or the GeoJSON ID. And right now it's limited to point geometry, but from what I understand from ODK Collect, this might change in the future to include traces and shapes as well. So I'm going to play a video of what this looks like on ODK Collect. It's really short. So here we have the question itself where we're referencing. Here's the GeoJSON. We just focus into the location. We select our point we're collecting. It appears. I'm actually going to pause it here and go back a second. There we go. So what you see here is once you've selected it, it gives you, select the point on the map, it'll give you that additional information that you've added to your GeoJSON. So here it's just the name. So the ID here is the name of the restaurant with an underscore. And then we also include the number of guests. You can hit select and that'll be like your final answer. Or you can select another one and then select that. So with the map feature, this is only with the appearance of a map. If you do a quick map, once you select it here, this window won't appear. It'll go straight to the one that you see next, which is right here. There's also the possibility to save the coordinate values and save them as a GPS points. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the use case. But that can be really helpful, especially if you want to view those GPS points on the ONA map view tab. And then you just finish up and you finalize. Oops, sorry. So we've did our data, and now we want to visualize the information on our, now we want to kind of analyze, see where we're at. So what's so great is about this specific feature on ONA is we allow you to not only see the points that you've collected and click on them. So if you click on the red dot, I'm sure all of you are aware that the actual submission will appear on the right-hand side. In addition to that, when you actually click this new icon here, it'll visualize the GeoJSONs. If you have more than one, well, if you have, and your GPS will be here. If you have more than one of those, you will be able to determine which one you want to view. But keep in mind the Geojson will only view, you can only have one Geojson per form that will be viewed here, and it'll be the first Geojson that you upload. And as I was saying, you can have pop-up, which will show the information that you included in the Geojson, which in this case was the title, the ID, and the number of guests. So it's great. Say, for example, you're doing household surveys. It allows you to see how many households you have. And because the red dots kind of highlight on top of those, you can see where you've collected data and where you have yet to collect data. So that can be really powerful, especially if you're doing a consensus data collection. Great. So some additional use cases. So additional use cases specific to option number 1, which included adding the geometries to the choices sheet, is being able to filter the locations. I mentioned this to you guys before, that you can also add choice filters similar to other choices sheets and list options that you might include in your form as well. So in this specific one, the first question we're asking so we're talking about water points in this specific example. So we're going out into the field. I'm going to one specific area and I want to visit all of those different water points. So the first question is asking me to select the water point I visited. So it's either area 1, 2, or 3. And then the second question is from a map point view to view the different water points. So I can go and cut to them and see where they are based on where I am on the map. So you just add your choice filter to your value here, similar to what we had done before, but instead of true this time, I have my own choice filter based on the choice filter that I created in the choices sheet. So for example, area 1, there will be 2 water set up here. And for area 2 and 3, only 1 will appear. Again, we included the example form here so that you guys can test it out yourself. Let's continue then on to use cases number 2. So option number 2 was to generate your own Geojson from either form or your own data. And the 2 useful things that can be helpful depending on how you're collecting the data is, 1, as I was mentioning before, collecting the GPS point as a GPS point so you can actually view it on the map view. You can also collect that as like a calculate as well, but collecting it as a geo point allows you to visualize it on a map easily. So my recommendation is to include that as an extra value and only as a read only. The other option is if you're collecting data on one device and you have a Geojson, you have the ability to select locations and then essentially no longer see them on future data collection forms because you've already collected them previously. So the way that works is using the last saved. This is a feature on ODK Collect that allows you to do that. So what you do is you go out in the field, you select the location on the map. It saves the GPS point in column number 4. And it's only read only because we don't want them to be able to change it. And then once I've done the first location, then I go to the second location, incorporated this last saved, that first location will no longer appear on the map to me because that form record is still on my device. If you delete that, then it will appear as an option that you can select. So those are the 2 major use cases. I would say the easiest and best one I would recommend when you're using this feature on most forms is I would use feature number 1. And we've included the examples. You can see the form here, so you can access the form so you can kind of see how it works. I've also included the text in the PowerPoint as well. So if you want to copy paste when we send out the materials, you can use this to help you get started with that. Also, if you have questions, as always, you can reach out to us on the in-app tab and we'll get back to you eventually. I think we've had a couple of questions already asked. Is it possible to restrict some users from selecting some locations? My answer to that sort of skip logic in your form that, and then you reference the different GeoJSONs, you could possibly do that. I haven't tested that feature, so we haven't tested all these different use cases, but I bet that would be feasible. So you would have to have multiple GeoJSON files, sort of relevant condition. You might not be able to see all of those GeoJSONs to just one, and it'll be the first one that you upload. So just be cognizant or aware of which GeoJSON you're uploading first. Some specific allowable locations. So I think what I try doing relevant conditions using multiple GeoJSON uploads. And then the relevant condition before that, you can just ask them to like, who is collecting this data or which region. That could kind of filter it a bit. I mean, if you want to be even more specific, you could metadata and then have that already included in the relevant condition. That could be another way, but that would also, no, that wouldn't require it. But that would require you to ensure that the different users have the correct info. As always, you guys can reach us out on support on your live chat. Is there anyone else that would like to provide any other information before we close? No? Okay. Excited about this feature. We're excited to be able to try collecting the data collection process. So yeah, thanks again for joining, and we will keep you updated on the next webinar.